Hey guys, it's Mr. Dan. Today's Wild Eye Wednesday review is the Ashcroft Entity. Now, this came onto my radar screen after the interview that Patrick did with actress Kelly Goody. He did that with Karen from Ocean Chicks Films. This film is available on Tubi, which is where I watched it. It's also available on YouTube for purchase or rent. And the film is based on the case of the Thornton Heath poltergeist, which is actually the name of a totally different and separate movie. And basically, it's simply the story of a young couple that move into a home in what we would call the suburbs of London, I believe, in the 1970s. And as they're settling in, they start to experience poltergeist activity. At first, they're incredulous. They sort of blame some of the wrong people. There's some neighbors that kind of get involved. Eventually, some mediums are brought in. The previous occupant of the house, an older woman, returns a few times. It seems like she has something she wants to say, but doesn't want to come out and say it. And I'm not really going to go into any more details other than that. It's simply a good poltergeist film, and they don't hit you over the head with the effects, but they're well done. They don't feel like they need to add in anything. Like, this is not a gory film. There is sort of apparitions that are seen, and they're done rather convincingly. Consumers of overproduced, larger budgeted films might have an issue with this, but I bet they would also admit that 9 out of 10 times they're disappointed by larger budgeted films. And one of the things that this film doesn't do, you don't have that sense that you get when you watch like Paranormal Activity. Now, the first time I saw Paranormal Activity was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. It was kind of interesting. It was a little different. But you have to admit, watch it again. Watch some of the sequels. And my understanding is I lost track. Some of the sequels go in interesting directions, but my gosh, it's like, let's pat ourselves in the back for showing this woman sleeping for 10 minutes. See how clever we are? Aren't you scared? You're scared now, right? You know what I mean? That's you never get the sense that the makers of the film are trying to sort of manipulate you like that in this film. It's almost like you're a fly on the wall. It's well acted. Kelly Goody is very good, in addition to being charming in real life. And she is really cool if you want to go back and find that interview. I think that was the second one she did with Patrick on Have Cheetah Will View. And you can follow her on Instagram. Yeah, and I did watch this film on Tubi. My intention was to get physical copies of a bunch of Wild Eye films, as some of you know, to review in order to support Wild Eye the best that I can. However, after that interview that I saw, I decided to bump this one up. And I also just wanted to mention that Simon Crudgington was also very good in it as the husband, probably the most British-sounding name I've ever heard. And then the director, Anthony M. Winsome, has also worked with Kelly on The Blaylock Residence, which is a remake of a short film that he did called The Haunting of the Blaylock Residence. Now, it's interesting because this film takes place in the 70s, but apparently there was actually a previous poltergeist episode in the house in the 30s involving a young girl, which had to do with, it was thought at the time, repressed sexuality manifesting itself as a poltergeist. And I'm not sure if the Blaylock residence is based on a true story as well, allegedly true story as well. But the first film was set in the 70s. The longer film, which is just called the Blaylock Residence, is set in the 70s. So the director, Anthony M. Winsome, he has no problem setting his films in different eras. And, I think the 70s are a little easier to do than the 40s. So I guess maybe for the longer film, that's why he opted for the 40s. But he does a really good job in this film of convincing you that it is the 70s. There's also a funny part where she's having a meal with a friend, and they're talking. She wants to get her mind off the poltergeist activity. So they say, why don't we go to a movies?
And a friend says, sure, how about Race with the Devil? And she says, oh, it's got Peter Fonda in it. I've got a crush on him or something like that. I thought that was funny considering that I have just reviewed that a few weeks ago. If you want to check out that review, that'll be great.
Really good job. Lots of little nice details. That's one thing. Even in Main Street Meets, it took place in the modern era, but there was a room in the house that was sort of frozen in time from maybe the early 70s, and it was the decor was like perfect. So that's pretty much it. Solid movie. Do not listen to IMDb ratings or anything like that on a film like this. And check it out. Let me know what you guys think. See you next Wednesday. Later.